This video shows you how to manage billing and settlement codes in the enterprise version of Transport Pro. Once you have your chart of accounts set up, the system can help you manage your billing and settlement codes. You can have a billing code without a settlement code. However, if you automatically want the system to pay out what you bill, you need to set up your settlement codes before you set up your billing codes. Note that the system comes with a few pre-installed billing and settlement codes, including freight and fuel. Let's start by entering our settlement codes. Follow the path in the menu Administration, Manage Settlement Codes, Add Settlement Code. Enter a code. This can be whatever you want it to be, but we do recommend keeping it to 8 characters or less. For this example, I'm going to enter a settlement code for detention. Enter the description. Determine the type of code. Is this code going to be used for a deduction, earning, or reimbursement? Note that any code used and classified as an earning will show up on a 1099 generated by the system. Enter the default amount. You must enter a numeric value here, even if it is 0. If you want to auto-settle, check the auto-settle box. If you enter an external description, it will show up on the invoice. You can also enter internal notes. When you generate a settlement summary for an owner-operator or carrier, the system breaks down each line item and places the items into different sections based on what will be paid out and any deductions, earnings, or reimbursements. However, you can control how a line item gets categorized on the settlement summary by selecting one of the options from the drop-down menu. These are the default options, but if you would like to request additional options here, you will need to contact a Transport Pro administrator. You also have the option to show the year-to-date totals on the settlement summary. For example, maybe you would like an owner-operator to see all of the freight they have been paid for year-to-date. On the other hand, perhaps you are taking out some kind of fee and do not want the owner-operator to see this. In this case, you would leave the box unchecked. If you check the Available for Dispatch box, the default debit and credit fields here will lock, and the load-based GL accounts will become available for edit, which we will cover later in this video. Checking this box also makes the item available at the time of dispatch. I'm going to switch screens to show you what it looks like. When you dispatch a load, at the bottom of the Edit Dispatch form, there is a Pending Earnings and Deductions section with a Manage link. When you click on this link, a smaller window opens and allows you to enter the applicable settlement code. When you add the code here, it will pass through to settlements. Determine if the Lock at Ready to Bill box needs to be checked. When a load is marked Ready to Bill, the settlement entries get created. If this box is checked and the item gets pushed through to settlements, then a general settlements user cannot edit or delete this item. If this box is not checked and the item gets pushed through to settlements, then a general settlements user can alter the item information, such as who gets paid. Determine if the Require Cap on Recurring box needs to be checked. When you enter a recurring settlement, the system requires you to enter a settlement code. If I check this box for a code that I'm going to use on a recurring settlement, the system will make me enter a cap amount on that recurring settlement. Determine if the System Use Only box needs to be checked. When this box is checked, the item is not available for dispatch. Checking this box prevents the item from being available in any of the drop-down menus throughout the system. Let's talk about the GL side of things for load-based items first. I'm going to navigate to my freight settlement code as an example. By default, freight is available for dispatch and system use only. However, you will want to make sure that any load-based items, such as detention, are available for dispatch. The load-based GL debit account section represents your freight bill expense accounts. You can set up which accounts get hit depending on the type of equipment used on the load and who is dispatched on the load. Here we have flat, reefer, and van set up, with flat being the default. However, we can customize the options here for you. Note that the system does require you to enter a value in the default owner-operator field. If you do not enter any other values in this section, the code will default to this default account. You can also select the account based on who is dispatched on the load. As you can see, there is a section for owner-operators, broker carriers, and company drivers. The accounts you enter here need to align with your chart of accounts. So, after a load is billed, if an item is set to get pushed to settlements, the amount will be deducted from the correct expense account. When you begin typing, a list of accounts will populate. Click on the correct account to lock it in. You must also enter a value in the Global Credit Account field. By default, this account is set up in the system as an accrued transportation account. You can always change this if you want. This is set up in Transport Pro as a liability account. So whenever a line item is billed, the system recognizes that you will eventually owe or have to pay out for that item. Therefore, this account holds that balance until you complete the settlement. Now, let's take a look at a non-load based item. For this example, I will use my fuel tax code. Most of the time, the default debit and credit accounts will be the same. These do not have to be expense accounts. These can be whatever you need them to be, and the accountant setting this up should know which account to debit and credit. Since this item is not available for dispatch, you would manually add this item to a settlement, and I will show you what that looks like. For this demonstration, I'm going to navigate to an owner-operator's settlement and add the item to his settlement. Once you add the item, you can see it has been added as a pending settlement. It is not until I actually process the settlement that the debit and credit accounts get hit. To search for a settlement code, follow the path in the menu Administration, Manage Settlement Codes, Search Settlement Codes. You have the option to filter by specific criteria. When you click Search, a list of results will populate. To review or edit a code, click on the ID. Now that we have covered settlement codes, we need to set up our billing codes. Follow the path in the menu Administration, Manage Billing Codes, Add Line Item. A Manage Billing Code window will open. Enter a code. The code can be whatever you want it to be, but again we recommend keeping it to 8 characters or less. For this example, I'm going to enter a billing code for detention. Next, enter the title. Once saved, the title cannot be changed and will be used on the invoice. You must enter a default rate even if it is 0. You can edit this rate anywhere within the system when you use this code. I'm going to switch screens to show you what it looks like when a billing code is used on a load. For this demo, I will drop in a stop-off code. You can see that when I do this, the default rate of $75 drops in. However, I can change this rate if needed. You will also see that the code and the default description drop in. You can edit the description here as well as the quantity. If you check the Miscellaneous Use Only box, this code will not be available on loads. When you check this box, the item with this code will automatically be transferred to the Miscellaneous Billing section of the system, which can be accessed by following the path in the menu Billing Miscellaneous Invoicing. If you check the System Use Only box, the code will not be in any of the drop-down menus. Note that the system does not allow line items to be deleted, so checking this box is an effective way to prevent this code from being used. By default, the system marks freight and fuel as System Use Only codes. Enter a description. This will show up on the invoice. You can come in here and change the description at any time. Let's look at the Other Account Pay information. This section is used for unique situations. For example, if you need to set up a code for project management, you can do that here. Enter the settlement code. Whenever this type of billing code is used on a load and selected from the Line Items section, a Pay Other box will appear. I will switch screens to show you what this looks like. For this example, I will select my project management code. When I do this, a Pay Other box appears. This item can be defaulted to a percentage or flat rate to be paid to a specific account. The GL credit accounts are the revenue accounts set up in the chart of accounts. Notice that once I begin typing the account, a list will auto-populate, and I can click on the correct account to lock it in. This eliminates the need to manually enter the accounts. The equipment types listed on this screen correspond directly to the type of equipment that is selected on the load. You can see that via the Trailer Requirement drop-down menu. The default equipment type must have a GL account value. The system will always default to this account if you do not set an account on the remaining trailer types. Based on what you select in the equipment fields, the system will automatically route the revenue transactions into the corresponding revenue account. The system has the ability to manage these accounts for owner-operators, broker carriers, and company drivers. Based on the truck, driver, or broker carrier set on the dispatch and equipment type set on the load, the system will automatically record revenue in the appropriate GL accounts. Note that when you sign up with Transport Pro, an administrator will set up the type of equipment that your trucks pull. For example, you can see in the Load-Based GL Credit Accounts section for owner-operators, the default equipment is set to flat. If you pull reefer trailers, we can make this your default. We also see in this section that the company has reefers and vans, but we can tailor this to reflect your company. Enter the accounts in the other equipment fields if applicable. If you do not enter anything in these fields, the system will default to the code you entered in the default field. Based on the type of line item that you bill on a load, the system can automatically push entries through to the settlement system. For example, the freight code is set up to push freight earnings to settlements automatically when you mark a load ready to bill. Whether or not the system pushes these entries through to settlements depends on what you enter in the line haul payee section. The system allows you to set up automated pay according to trailer and dispatch type. By default, freight is the only settlement code that is tied to the settlement system. If you need to tie a billing code to another line item besides freight to the settlement system, an administrator can set this up for you. If you have already entered your settlement codes into the system, the codes will auto-populate when you begin typing. Be sure you are entering the correct codes on the correct lines so that they correspond to the correct equipment. Enter the amount and method. While uncommon, Transport Pro allows you to set up payment for terminals the same way you can set up payment for a line haul payee. Enter the settlement code in the terminal section. Enter the amount and method. The settlement code is based solely upon what is in the dispatch pay section. Enter the Global Debit GL account. This account is referred to as the main AR or accounts receivable in the system's default chart of accounts. If an item has been marked for miscellaneous use only, the Global Debit account and default trailer type code are the only two things that will reflect the billing code you have entered. Once everything looks correct, click Save. I'm going to show you what it looks like in settlements when we bill a load for detention. I'm going to navigate to my load and click Edit Information, then scroll down to the Line Items section and enter Detention. Next, I'm going to mark the load ready to bill, which creates the settlement. I'm going to navigate to the owner's pending settlement, and I can see that the line item for detention has dropped in since this code is set up to pass through to settlements. If you need to search for a line item, follow the path in the menu, Administration, Manage Billing Codes, Search Line Items. A Search Billing Codes window will open. You can filter by code, title, type, rate, and GL account. If you do not enter any criteria and click Search, a list of all line items will populate in the results. To review and edit any of the line items, click on the ID. That covers billing and settlement codes in Transport Pro Enterprise. If you would like to schedule a demonstration or if you have any questions, please call us at 800-800-5917 or email us at info@transportpro.net. You can learn more about us by visiting our website, www.transportpro.net. If you are ready to sign up, you can do so by visiting the features page of our website and clicking Learn More. Thank you for watching this video.